Why we start talking about that again?
I have no idea. I remember. So they're called guilty pleasures. So you were talking about how you hid your anime when you had parties.
Oh yeah. So,
which was it just?
This had nothing to do with that, by the way, because this was just like there was like a fucking side story.
So far.
But it was just like, so I didn't really talk about it too much until my senior year, when I started taking things more seriously, because I think I was living in this bubble of I never thought I was gonna leave the Central Valley, and I just lived in this bubble where I kind of just went with the crowd, and then around senior year came along, you start finding out who you are, and you become more comfortable with being open about your likes and dislikes. So then I started talking about like raves and anime and comics and stuff. And at that point, like, nobody gave a shit. Everyone was graduating, going to different colleges, so it was like, it was a perfect escape.
Yeah, dude. The part is like when you let your guard, you finally let yourself be yourself, and you realize, oh, dude, there were people out there who liked the same thing I did, and they were also hiding it. And if we had just been open, I think that's the moment too when you really connect with someone. When you find out like that guilty pleasure, that thing that you think that no one else likes, they like it too. Like fast friends. I meet someone right now and I'm like talking and I find out they like Cobra Kai. I'm like, oh, dude, we're gonna get along. Like, at the very least, we have that show in common, right?
Unless you're like a Klansman who likes Cobra Kai.
Okay, yeah, that would be like an extreme example. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's because it gives you, when you find a common ground, it what somebody likes or what they're passionate about, it gives you not like a preview of who they really are or who they are,
True, but I think especially if it's a very specific common ground. Like if I meet someone, they're like, Daniel, I like football, and they're like, I like football too. It's like, well, yeah, kind of like everybody watches, like, you know what I mean? But like if someone's like, yo, Daniel, I love, I don't know. I've only met a handful of people who watch Cobra Kai besides us.
Well, I mean, you can say the same thing with sports. You'd be like, oh, I like football. Oh, I like football too. It's a cool sport. Or like, oh yeah, I love football. My team is the Niners, and they start listing off the things about the championships and shit like that. And anytime that happens with me, or somebody like talks about a sports team and just starts listing off their achievements, it kind of tells me, they put a lot of their identity in the sports team. It's probably where they're from, and probably one of the reasons why they hold this sport or that team so highly in their life is because they probably shared a special moment with somebody, or it was like their bonding moment with a family member or a friend, or it gave some sense of community for them.
Sure. And I'll say this, the opposite is super awkward. Have you ever met someone who like pretends to be about something and then it very quickly, like, you realize that they're not about it,
Hell yeah, dude. Like
posers, dude. That's what I think is like never. I've been guilty of this, dude, pretending I knew about something. They'll sound cool. I get called out. I'm like, dude, there's no way to look like a bigger loser than to pretend you know about something when you don't.
Well, it's easy to fall into that trap though, right? Because in college, you still you kind of know the outline of who you are and where you want to go in life, or who you want to be, kind of tentatively. I don't know. Question asterisk. You have an idea, right? If that.
You have an idea.
And it's easy to be embarrassed, because I think people are embarrassed because they don't want to admit to themselves that they themselves don't know if they like it or not, because they haven't found that identity yet, and they've tried to fake it to make it because they want to fit into whatever is going on or whatever the situation is going on there, and and I think because you're still unsure of who you are, you don't want to have that humility of not knowing what this person is presenting to you at the time, or you don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like an extra tack onto. You don't want to be an extra thing weighing you down.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're still trying to figure things out, you'll try different things, but like never pretend. Like I think it was a very specific scenario. I remember this girl at work, my old job. I shouldn't say girl; she was a woman, just a grown woman, right? Um, she had all these giants like bobbleheads on her desk, and she had pictures of like Buster Posey and stuff, right? And I remember talking, was, "Oh, you like the Giants?" She's like, "Oh yeah, for sure," right? And I was talking about the game, and like it was like becoming pretty obvious that like she hadn't watched it or that she didn't really know any of like the current players. And I was just like, all right, well, like I'll talk to you later, you know. And it's just like, and she was trying to like say things that didn't really make sense, you know. And I was just like we could be cool. Like you don't have to like the Giants too, like just. But you don't gotta lie to kick it. You ever heard that expression?
Yeah.
You ain't gotta lie to kick it. Like, it's the perfect way to say it. It's just like, just be yourself. You could have walked up to me and said, "Hey, Daniel, I fucking hate baseball." I would have been like, "Cool, it's not for everybody." You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to be that way. Like, you know, so yeah.
Maybe like maybe her self-confidence is. I mean, I don't know anything about this person, but I am going to pass judgment. Fuck it, I don't know this woman, but maybe her self-confidence in her identity wasn't strong enough to where she wanted to. Where maybe how their phrases, maybe her self-confidence in her identity wasn't strong enough to where she didn't want him to admit that she didn't really know, because if you were to take this away from her, then she would have to really ask herself who she is.
I mean, to an extent, right? To me, I think that like true confidence is people who are confident no matter what happens, right? Right. So like, let's say like, I don't know. I used to work with a lot of women, right? So I use these examples, right? So let's say like someone came in to work and they could tell they were like, they just didn't look put together, right? They're like makeup, and they're like embarrassed, and they're like trying to hide, or I don't know, something like that, right? And then I remember once it was actually at a barber shop, and like there was a female barber. She came in, she's like, "Guys, I know I look like shit today. I got 2 hours of sleep. I was partying all night at the bars. Deal with it." And it was just like, dude, that's like real confidence. She's like, "Yeah, I know I look like crap today. Like, I'm not hiding it. I didn't call out of work. I'm coming in. You get what you get." Like, she kind of like a fucking attitude that was like pretty tight. Oh, dude, like, because at the end of the day, a lot of people care more about certain things. They think other people care more than they actually do. They're like, "Oh, dude, terrible day. Everyone can tell." And people are like, they're not looking at you. They're probably looking at themselves, like thinking, you know what I mean? So,
I think like, thank God I'm not this person.
Or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I think that's true confidence, is like you're just yourself in every situation. And you can admit when you're wrong because you know it doesn't define you. You're like, "Oh, yeah. That would have been way more badass." I was like, "Oh, that's a cool Buster Posey bobblehead." She's like, "I don't know, my husband got it for me. I don't even like baseball." But I'm like, "Oh, what do you like?" You know, now we get a real conversation. But she had to feel like she had to like be someone else and like, you know.
Yeah, you can't build a bridge of friendship with straws.
Word. That was some real
fortune cookie stuff.